The roots of a tree provide a solid base, but it is the branches and the leaves that must reach out in order to grow. If the roots are not strong, the tree will fall. Water will carry nutrients to the soil and give it drink. The sun will warm the soil and provide it food. But it is the tree that must let go its seeds for the air to carry them. Ebon Kim. Good evening, everybody. So this is just something that I've been pondering, if that's the word. Let me go ahead and get the intro out of the way. So I work with full disclosure and transparency. Anyways, I've had my cryptocurrency addresses up for over 19 months, no donations through them. You can always go to the blockchain explorer to view the transactions. These two transactions were money taken out of my Patreon when I ended it and gave it to Susie Dawson when she needed it. Nothing for Vertcoin yet. You can always donate via Google Super Chat if I'm live streaming and you're on Google. And if you want, you can also donate to me via paypal.me. And I set that up on September 22nd of 2019. And the first video of the month, I will say my thank yous and disclose all the donations I received for the previous month and all months previous. If you don't have any money, you can go and donate. You can always prove the Earth being a globe. Just take up Zen Garcia's challenge, and you can win yourself $15,000. Someone tried it, and well, they weren't successful. But you might be able to be successful, and not the previous fella. There has been a website, zoomtruth.com, called the Flat Earth People Finder. You can get involved and try to make it grow. You can also always join me on every live stream that I have. That'll have the Zoom meeting link, which is just basically an application that is installed, or you can play it through your browser. And you can chat with me about the topic, or you could segue to something else. Maybe you can even call in if you don't want to show your face or your name, and just and it's free, toll free. All right. So, well, I'm not really going to show much of anything. Philosopher, quote thyself. Hey, plain truth. So interesting. I was thinking of taking ayahuasca divine itself for a brew and not add in anything like chacruna or things like that. But interestingly enough, I kind of fell asleep, and so at the last part of it, and which I shouldn't have done, but anyways, it didn't pan out. But I think it was on purpose. And then the very next morning, my son and daughter were playing, and they know about that I'm growing like a lemon tree and 2 cactus, and the cactus are San Pedro. Well, they broke one of the cactus, the San Pedro, so well, I took it as a sign. So I prepared it and tried it the next morning, and I'm not sure if it really worked or not. I didn't feel anything different. The only thing that I noticed was I was kind of tired and wanted to close my eyes, so I did, and when I did, I would have some interesting dreams. Some of it I can still remember, but in a sense, it's not really pertinent to anything. It hasn't made me figure out anything. Kind of. This is because I think it's maybe it was meant to show me that I don't need it. That what I see, the Maya, the illusion that one may think is dispelled, I guess you could say. I know what I'm here for, and what more I can do while I'm here. I and way back when I said, we can see in nature what we need to do. It's basically, there's many things about it, but it's interesting how basic and how simple it can be broken down. Just looking at nature. Now there are some complications. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the things that we neglect to do that leads to a lot of grief and further suffering is our refusal to let go of things. And you hear that from a lot of different religions, mythology, whatever, philosophies, just letting go. And people wonder, what does that actually mean? Well, sometimes you have to set things in motion, and all you can do is just see how it pans out. It's just like throwing a ball, shooting a gun or an arrow. We can do as much as we can from the point of holding on to it, setting it in motion, and letting go. But once it's out of our hands, there's nothing more we can do. So you have to realize that at that moment, you have to let go and hope that everything that you've learned or trained or practiced, whatever, was set in motion during that movement, because there's nothing else that you can control after that. And as far as like the analogy of the trees, maybe it's because it's just kind of the exploring the philosophy. Martial arts has a lot of philosophy behind it, and part of it is probably watching Cobra Kai. I was a big fan of Karate Kid. It's just a great movie, but and it's a good show. But the balance to everything, Zen philosophy, and many very similar philosophies, again, where if you're a tree and the wind is blowing, you don't want to be so stiff that the wind breaks you. You want to bend enough so you don't break. Things like that, just to balance the yin yang and a whole bunch of other things. And the idea is that when you see a tree, you don't see it grow without its leaves. That's how it grows. But the thing is, in order for a tree to survive, it needs strong roots. But if all you have are strong roots and you don't ever see it reach out and grow, it's just not gonna grow. Heck, it might even die. But also, if it doesn't have strong enough roots and you just see its branches and leaves out, heck, even during the winter or whatever, and or a big storm and it loses all its leaves, it wouldn't matter if it didn't have strong enough roots. It would just tip over and fall. So you need a blend of both. You could apply that to yourself as an individual. You can even apply that to society. Now imagine applying it to society, where just take a look around you. Look at the people who are in government, in the systems of control, in theater, in money, whatever systems of control that you are, whether you support it or you don't support it, whether you think it's a good system, it's just corrupt, or maybe it's just a bad system and it's be renewed. Well, what I tend to see are the older generations just trying to keep its base, its roots strong, and not really reaching out and growing as a society. And you see that with parents being maybe a little bit too careful with their children. Well, some of them maybe not careful enough, or there's just not that balance. You want to have show them a good base, teach them how to grow, and then just let go. And no matter what, as hard as you try to keep them with you, you have no control over that. Just like as I was saying, once you let go, You did whatever you could to from that point, but once it leaves your hands, it's out of your control. And so we do have, as far as society, in these systems that we have, we're born into, which we should have a say in, but we seemingly don't. In our previous generations, they were the same way, but it seems like they had a say in it, and now they don't want to have a say, not have a say in it at all, as they are supposed to let go. So what we have is the stagnation within these systems of control, and we see all these problems and sufferings that are the result of it. And some may say it's just corrupt, or maybe it's just a failure of the system itself. Who knows? But the point is basic. It's they're just not letting the new generation give them the strong foundation, the ability to grow and do better. I think whether it's power, pride, whatever it is, the parents should be proud. Just like teachers or sensei should be proud of their students when they become better than the previous generation. I mean, the whole point is to pass on all this knowledge and wisdom to the younger generations so they can be on their own and do better than us. We don't want them to do worse than us. We don't want our children to do worse. We don't want our students to be worse than us. If you are one of those people who want them to be worse, I am sorry, but you're probably not a good fella, or miss, whatever. You know what I mean. You're just not a good person. You got some issues. So the goal is to get things better. You don't want trees or nature to release weaker versions of themselves. That's not going to be good for anything. Not for the animals, not for us, etc. You know, we just want stronger offspring. Whatever it is, we want things to grow. We don't want things to just stay the same. So, and also reminds me of just kind of the idea of power. What is the purpose of power? What really is power? Is power being able to overpower something or someone else physically? Maybe it's mentally. You can overpower or brainwash people, and that could be a method of control. You basically can tell 100 people to kill someone rather than kill someone yourself. Someone say, hey, the real power is doing it yourself. Or maybe someone else will say, no, the real power is not having to do it yourself, making others do it for you. But also, and each of that has its own balance. You know, once you allow others to do all of that, you allow them to become more powerful than you, or vice versa, etc. So even within power, there's a weird dichotomy, I guess you could say. But I also think is letting go of your power as, the most powerful thing that one can do. Or maybe having all the power in the world, which you could do whatever you want, but having the restraint not to use that power, is that more powerful than allowing yourself to let go of all power? I mean, this could be an ongoing debate for forever, really. And it makes me imagine a point. Let's take our example of God, the highest being, the idea of something that's all powerful in itself, and suppose something that's equal or slightly less equal, saying, you know what, maybe you're not as powerful as you think you are. And then God's going, of course I'm all powerful. What is there that I cannot do? I don't know. Can you let go of all your power? It's like, well, that would be a stupid thing. As someone who knows that I'm all powerful, that probably means I'm all smart. So letting go of my power would not be a smart thing. But then the opposition, the adversary, whatever, says, well, trying to keep all the power for yourself doesn't seem like someone who's confident enough that they don't have the power to gain it back if they let it go. So you've got that whole conversation as well. And what would one do is saying, all right, how about don't let go of your power. All right, let's see how creative you are. If you're the creator of many things, I've seen, I guess, your work. Well, is there something that you cannot create that something that you have created can outcreate you with? And, it was like, that's a good one. Why don't we try that one? So, creator says, okay, here's the thing, right? I, as being the all-powerful creator, can create anything, and no one can create something that I cannot create or think to create or imagine to create. And so there it goes. Okay, so create everything over here, that side, and here we'll just let it evolve, I guess, by itself. Let's see how things happen. You've already proven that you've created everything, over here. Let's see if anyone over there creates something that you didn't create over there, and we'll see who the winner is. That sounds very fun, doesn't it? Well, maybe that's what this whole thing is. Then, when you sorry, dried lips. We take into everything account as far as how the system appears to be today, with the stagnation of growth and stagnation of creativity, and you start to wonder, maybe someone's trying to prevent that creativity from occurring, right? Someone who's supposedly all powerful, all knowing, all creative, etc., doesn't want to be not that, right? So let's fudge it a little. Let's just make sure that that doesn't ever happen. You don't want to. If you're all whatever, you're also probably going to have some sort of ego, I would say, which we notice a lot of people who do, I guess, have some sort of materialistic power, I guess, in this world, do have that sense of ego and identity of, hey, I have this stuff, got it all on my own, etc. Who do you think you are? And all this other stuff. There is a sense of that entitlement and ego and power tripping and all that stuff. And when you see that also in society, you usually see, it's the class system, right? It's like, look at The Great Gatsby, how the people with old money, where they didn't earn the money from themselves, they inherited it, and they're from like the good genes or whatever. Just kind of looking down upon the people who are made it wealthy on their own. They call it new money. And at least the people with the new money have proven it, right, that they can do it. And the people who have the old money, I always found it as, if they didn't have that money, could they become wealthy as they are now without the inheritance? Do they have that foundation and the growth in order to do that? I would say no. So it's always funny when you see that happen, where the old generation is making fun of the new generation, saying, like they can't do it this way, or they had to do it another way. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Whoever you got your inheritance money from had to have made it, and if they didn't inherit it, so basically you're basically making fun of your ancestor, type of thing. And it was like, remember our parents, I think people who are in the Generation X, growing up, parents always wanted you to become like a doctor or a lawyer, just have that stable, high money, high prestigious job position, etc. And, do the things that were just kind of stagnant, but, like the world was gonna not change. and be happy about it, even though you could probably have a better way of being just having a different way. Find a different way to do it. Why would you want your kids just do the same thing that everyone else has been doing, where it's also remains stagnant? If you think of law and the lawyers and the doctors in this world, nothing new has been done to make the justice system or the health industry better. People are less healthier than ever. People are more trouble than ever with litigation, and justice doesn't seem to appear or apply to those who are in charge of that said system. So, all of that stuff. But what I've looked at with some, a lot of people who are content creators is kind of great, right? You've got the typical way that most people would say they wanted to play basketball. That was their passion, whatever it is. I'm just choosing one example. Most would say, well, you're going to have to train hard, make the team at high school, and hopefully get a scholarship, apply for a scholarship in college, then hopefully go to like a certain league, maybe get drafted into the NBA, but maybe you'll play overseas now that they have in Europe and in Asia. And then I've seen some people who they didn't go to college, they probably didn't get a scholarship, maybe they didn't try going to the other leagues. What they did was they created content where they still practice. They would basically play street ball, go to all these different places, challenge different people, and just get people. And just, you're happy to play ball. You keep it. You don't play rough. You want to play by the rules. You think positive. You want to play with other people, have a good time, and people see that. People. You see some of these kids that are grown up, they play good basketball. They're smart enough to know, they can't compete against like a 6'8" professional, ex-professional player or whatever, but they know that, they can handle their own pretty much, even probably college players and certain players in the NBA. But they know that they can't get to that point with the system as it is. I mean, how many under 6'2" basketball players are gonna make it to the NBA, as opposed to if you're gonna be 6'10" or 7 foot? Your odds aren't that great. So they tried something different, tried something new. They're successful at it. Thousands, if not millions, of people know them, watch their stuff. They're succeeding. They got a good head on their shoulders. And what do you probably see from a lot of the older generation is like, why can't that kid do something more important with his life, type of thing? Why can't he study and become a doctor and or whatever? Basically, that's the attitude of the previous generation, which the previous generation shouldn't have that attitude. It's like you've got someone who's found a way to spread positivity around the world, make a living for himself, and enjoy what he does. It's like, why can't you be happy about that? Isn't that a great thing? Couldn't we have that for all these people? Maybe the generation gap, whatever, the previous generation don't like it because they see it as a failure of the system. It's like, how he should have been successful is he should have apply for college, taking out loans, travel the seas, pay a lot of money and take low paying jobs, work your way up the chain and eventually get there, just because what you had to do it one way and say, real people do it this way or whatever. It doesn't quite work that way. And then you explain to some of these people, it's like, well, you know, all these geniuses who you guys seem to make fun of because they don't have a degree in anything or whatever. And, you know, you see that in a lot of debates. What are your credentials? What kind of diploma do you have? Do you have a master's or PhD or anything like that? Let's go. Okay, let's talk about Bill Gates. Let's talk about Steve Jobs. Let's talk about a whole bunch of people who never had a master's, PhD, or probably even a college education. You know, well, how many of those? How many people who have? Can you compare to them who do have PhDs? Can you name them? Probably not. And so, like, most people probably hate on a lot of these people who grew rich. Yeah, you can have the conspiracy theory point of view, but still, the whole idea is that, hey, they didn't make it on their own by going through the same steps as everybody else, you know. And before Cobra Kai, the way I saw the Karate Kid was the one-on-one relationship with Mr. Miyagi and Danielson is that he trained him on his own. He didn't have a set regiment, you know. He just wanted to apply what he knew from his teacher, who was also taught from his own senseis, and apply kind of what he knew from his standpoint of where he was at in life, and teach it to Daniel. And you've got Cobra Kai on the other hand, who's teaching all the students that he has multiple students all the same way, same methods, not applying anything in regards to life, but applying it to just one thing, which is to win in whatever way possible. And you got that, you just big difference. So it's you know, I think what one of the failures of whether it's the system or the culture or whatever that you have is that people tend to want everyone to, you know, be average, right? Hopefully be above average and not be below average, but they don't do a damn thing for anyone who's below average. They go, well, just get your average up, you know, the averages of everyone in there, just be better, a little bit better than someone else, you know. Maybe you'll get that job that's better than someone else by just being slightly better than the other person, not necessarily be the best that you can be, and think of ways to be better, not just at one thing, but many things, and to explore and to learn to fail and to add failure to your resume and saying, hey, I failed in this is great, here's what I learned from it, as opposed to someone saying, yeah, I won all this stuff and I don't need to learn anything new because I already know what's best, and I'm it, you know. So basically I'm the bar, you know. that level of confidence is good, but it gives you also a sort of ignorance that you think you know everything, that there's nothing else to learn, that you reach the peak, the pinnacle, you don't need to train, you don't need to practice, and therefore you realize that everything that you've learned in order to have a strong foundation and to grow, well, you're not going to grow, your foundation's going to crumble, and therefore you're going to fail eventually, and you're going to realize too late that, hey, you know, I should have I became ignorant again, or, you know, type of thing. So many things that you can just grasp on that it ends up being so simple. That's even there in books and movies and stories, and it's still around. You know, if you find it, and it's like a nice gold shiny. It's like a nugget that you don't know it's a gold nugget till you polish it and go, hey, this is interesting. What's this? And So the cycle of entrapment, the ninth circle, the ninth wheel, whatever I had in that waking dream, I kind of get it now. I mean, I've looked around and excuse me, and some say, as far as the Gnostic, one Gnostic group, there's so many, saying that it's Gaia, the Earth, or Sophia, even. Others, like, not many really have much around it, but there's Dante's Inferno, which is the ninth circle of hell, or the Inferno is ninth circle of hell is treachery, is to break that the treachery circle, and we seem to be heavily involved in that right now. As far as the world that we see around us is filled with treachery. People don't know who to trust. Some can't even trust their best friends. They can't trust their loved ones, etc. They can't trust their government. They can't trust anybody. You can't get anything done because there's not that level of trust. And then there's also Paradiso, the ninth circle, or the ninth level, if you want to call it. Is like the Primus Mobius, whatever it is, the level of the angels, and basically what God, if you want to call it that, the concept of that in Inferno's Dante is what touches that moves everything in circle. Think of it as say you've got a globe or the sky or whatever, you've got 9 pieces to it, nine whatever circles. So you spin that top circle, and it catches onto the next one, and the second one spins because you reach that limit, and then the third one spins because of it. And basically, you're turning it, and turning the top one starts turning all the ones at the round and the bottom. So you can do that with a circle. You don't have to apply it to a globe. It doesn't matter if you're a flat earther or a globe earther. The idea is that the way that you stay entrapped and repeat the cycle is that you're always choosing, and you think you're choosing the right side each time, but what you fail to realize is that by choosing this side and staying on that side and not thinking about the other side, is that's what keeps you here. You're picking wrong every time, right? It's like pick heads or tails. Well, I'll pick heads. Well, tails came up. Well, you pick tails and heads comes up. And it's like, well, I don't know which one is right. Every time I pick, it seems to be the wrong one. The thing is, you want to choose the coin. The coin is what you want to choose, because if you choose the side, your odds are not good. It's 50-50. But if you have the coin, you don't need to choose the side. You've got both sides right there. So that's kind of the idea. So when people say, whether I'm a globe earth or flat earther, there's not enough evidence on both sides. The evidence that I see is that the establishment, the system in control right now, hasn't provided the evidence for the globe side. And, the one time that they actually did try to show evidence for it, well, we easily saw that it was doctored, the video, the end result. That should have been all important, and that part was only shown for about half a second, right? That result where, you should be able to see that helicopters going behind landing and disappearing over flat water. And of course, 3 birds ruin it. Anyways, you can look back on my videos why I'm a flat earther. But it's not necessarily about being a flat earther or a globe earther. There's nothing like, all right, so I've wound the ball up and I threw it. It's out of my hands. Okay, what's next? What else do we throw? What other sport do we play? Where do we want to build our foundation and find out ways to grow? People I see in the flat earth movement, all of them just make videos about flat earth. That's it. People who want to disagree with the flat earthers, all they make are videos about globe earth. That's it. You get stuck. I think Cobra Kai season 2 did a good job. Johnny Lawrence is teaching their students. Sorry, spoilers. And tells them, you gotta move. If you stay still, you're gonna get stagnant. You're gonna get. And he had them train in wet cement. If you stop moving, the cement's gonna harden and you're gonna get stuck. So don't get stuck. So the applying of a lot of these philosophies, martial arts, are all basically applied philosophies for one thing, which is self-defense, mainly war, whatever you want to call it. Some find philosophy in music and in art and dance and all these other things. But there's a philosophy of a way of taking a concept and applying it in very different ways with the use of analogies, and that's the only way that we can kind of teach of what most people cannot understand by applying it to something they can understand. And a lot of us, I'll include myself, aren't going to know what else is out there unless, or understand it. Maybe we can find it, we can experience it, I guess you could say, but we won't really necessarily know exactly what it is, what it means, what it's for, why like, or find meaning to it. But then when we just kind of look around, maybe we can find analogies to it. We can relate it somehow to something that we understand, something that we grew up with. And then there we go. You set a new foundation for something else, set down the roots. Now, next thing you know, you gotta, grow your branches, grow your leaves, and reach out in order to strengthen those roots. And at some time you're gonna outgrow it. You're gonna, have to let go and move on to something else, which is, I think, a lot of problem with a lot of people. But then the problem also is, well, we haven't found out something different, newer, or better to move on to yet. Some people have kind of looked back and goes, I mean, that's where a lot of the stuff that we have problems with now are starting to creep up in, as far as the social order. Just think of government. Has anyone thought of kind of new forms of government, except for the forms of government we've all tried before? I mean, basically, just use the United States as an example. We kind of went back to the Roman times and go, hey, let's go back to Roman times a little bit. Maybe tweak a few things here, but maybe we'll come up with a better system elsewhere. I mean, the reason why they probably picked the Roman system was the Roman system was probably the largest type of empire government that's ever been. That was the longest lasting. So why not frame something out of that? Because that seemed to work fine until things didn't work out. Hopefully they're probably thinking, it took a couple hundred, if not thousands of years for the fall of Rome. And some, of course, saying Rome still exists. It's kind of got tweaked a little, but like illusion, the treachery going on, that's what it is. But still, the idea is, heck, we're not going to be around for those hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe, we'll just set the strong foundation. Hopefully they figure it out where we don't fall into that same trap where the Rome fell and how Rome fell and all of this stuff. And they built the foundation. They grew as much as they could and they let go. And hopefully, their hope is that the others would grow the strong roots and grow and change things like they did for the better. And then we came to a couple of generations where they wanted to be the best. They didn't want anyone after them to tarnish their legacy. And it's all about this power and ego and wealth and fame, etc. It's like, hey, if I want offspring, I want or anyone else in the next generation, they still better look up to me, because, you know, I'm not going to teach them the secrets. I'm going to keep all of that to myself. Look, there's Deer, D3R, from, I don't even remember anymore. D Live, yeah. So that's kind of all I've got, really. I just kind of wanted to share that, and you know, you can probably apply a lot of things for many philosophies. Heck, even if it's philosophies I don't agree with, that's fine. The whole concept of it is to build a strong foundation, grow, and then let go. And hopefully you can apply that to those that you care about, and especially the next generation, your kids and other people's kids. Other people's kids matter because your kids are going to grow up with them, and either they're going to be fighting and against each other, or they're going to be teaming up with each other and make something better. Because obviously fighting with each other for the last couple of generations hasn't worked out very well now, has it? So change to something new, figure something out. And heck yeah, there are probably going to be people who want to keep things stagnant, keep more for themselves than for others, have that idea that they're better than whatever, put people in groups and baskets and whatever. That's the way to get stuck in this cycle. And there has been multiple ideas that as far as like my experience goes, I kind of see the idea of what you leave behind, or you want to leave behind, that you recognize as something you don't want, as a part of you, is what burns in hell for all of eternity. Because you realize that's not what you want. That's not who you are. That's not your being. That's not who you want to be. And if you don't let go of what you don't want to be, well, maybe that's what burns for all eternity. That might just be you yourself, right? Because you realize that you can't let go. You know, you don't like yourself. You don't like the things that you do. You don't like who you are. You don't want to let go of that. Why? Why necessarily? Is it just because you enjoy the comforts or something? You enjoy some aspect of it that maybe it appears to you is as being better than someone else or something else, or what have you, whatever it may be, just part of the ego. Anyways, that's kind of the thing. If you want to let go, I would suggest the 3 ayahuasca trips, because the second one, the bad trip, will probably kick your ass. If you don't learn from that, well, it's probably going to be, at least you had a chance. Let's just say that. Anyways, that's it. I think even the couple people who have these weird ideas and whatever, you know, it's like the guy who says keep on, who came up with keep on trucking. It's still a good saying, you know, keep on moving, always start changing, don't become stagnant. It's, you know, a lot of this is just working together for something better. I mean, if there is a fence that needs to be climbed that one person can't climb over, you got 3 people working together, they can all climb over and help each other out, type of thing. You know, we didn't advance in society, I guess you can say, or in anything as far as being able to survive by fighting everyone and finding everyone as enemies. You had to make friendships. You had to trust, to at least have a certain level of trust, even if there's been some treachery involved in the past during those times. But still, at least it got you to a level that you couldn't get to before. But then it's up to everyone else whether they want to keep keep working together, or saying, oh, this is where I split off. This is where I take all the good stuff for myself and leave everybody behind. And we don't really remember those people too well, do we? Not really. We recognize all the people who went all the way with trying to work together and get something good going. But still, I do have my own tendencies not to trust people that do lie or are hypocritical or really support the system to the T and not find anything wrong with it. It's like the yes men for like Hitler or someone horrible. And it's like, yeah, that's basically all it is. So anyways, that's it. D3, I'll just call you Deer. Yeah, good stuff. And yeah, everyone has that ability to make sense of things. Just try to find different ways to apply it that you can definitely understand, and hopefully things change, right? Isn't that what we want? We want change. We want change for the better. No one says, oh man, can't we stay this way forever? Things are just so great. I mean, just look at the news. Look at all the great stuff in the world. I mean, you look at all the news, it's like, oh man, that's actually pretty bad. That's because either people don't want change when things are bad, or they want change. I mean, who wants change for the worse? I mean, just probably a few people, I guess. Probably the people who are in the system. Because, I mean, it gets you to the point. I mean, that's the thing with money, right? I'm going to end this soon. The thing with money is, once you start investing, you want things to be bad. Isn't that a weird concept? Because you realize that most people are investing for things to get good. But when things get good, the share is much more spread out, so you're not going to gain as much. But if things get worse, well, you planned on that, and therefore you're going to get the proceeds of most of it because you bet on the opposite. It's kind of like the house. They're betting on you losing your money based on the odds. And so it's kind of so if you've gotten to the point where you're investing money in order to keep gaining money, you're basically betting that things are going to get worse around the world in order for your profits to grow. And that's kind of one of these sneaky things about money as a control system, is that once you get comfortable with money and material wealth and stuff like that, you realize that you're using your money to invest in things in order to get an outcome. Most people, now some people invest in their money hopefully against the odds that something good will come out of it, but a majority of the people who are wealthy and want to keep that wealth, well, they're hoping for a recession, of cashing out before the recession hits, and then putting all that money somewhere. And as things are cheaper than dirt, they put a lot of they can even put like a quarter of their money in a few years they're going to get quadruple their money. But at least if things don't happen the way that they do, they still got three quarters of it. So it's all that planning with that as far as strategy. But the whole idea and the concept of it is, you're hopefully wanting to gain money by things not improving in the world, and that's just kind of a messed up concept where money can do that to you. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. If you have joined me, or if you're watching this at a later time, again, thank you. And much more to learn, really. All right, we'll see you in a night.